What if I told you that the less you chase, the more she wants you? The more secure you are in yourself, the more magnetic you become. Attraction isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about mastering emotional balance. It's about becoming a man whose confidence doesn't waver based on a woman's attention. The paradox of indifference is fundamental. When you stop seeking validation, when you stop trying too hard, that's when she starts paying attention. In this video, we'll break down the Stoic principles that reveal why emotional independence is far more attractive than neediness. You'll learn why chasing her often pushes her away, why self-respect is the foundation of attraction, and how creating space can make her miss you more. Modern dating is filled with misleading advice that tells men to constantly pursue, overinvest, and always be available. But true confidence doesn't come from trying to impress. It comes from valuing yourself enough to walk away when necessary. By the end of this video, you'll understand why maintaining control over your emotions, setting boundaries, and embracing a mindset of genuine detachment makes you irresistible. And stay until the end. I'll share a final Stoic lesson that will completely shift how you see attraction and relationships. Let's dive in. 1. Why chasing pushes her away: the illusion of pursuit. There's a long-standing belief that the key to winning a woman's heart is relentless pursuit. The idea that persistence is proof of love and devotion. Movies, books, and popular culture have long romanticized the image of a man who never gives up and fights for love against all odds. But in reality, the harder you chase, the more she withdraws. Attraction doesn't work like a transaction where effort automatically leads to reward. Instead, it operates on a deeper, more instinctual level, heavily influenced by a man's ability to maintain his self-worth. The more a man invests his energy into chasing, the more he unknowingly lowers his perceived value. When a woman senses that a man is overly eager to please, constantly available, and always seeking her validation, she begins to feel less attraction. It's not because she dislikes attention, but because the attention given too freely, without her having to earn it, holds little value. Desire is not built on abundance but on scarcity, on the presence of self-control and selectivity. Consider two men with opposing approaches. The first man is always available. He responds to messages instantly, adjusts his schedule to accommodate hers, and goes out of his way to ensure she knows how much he likes her. While his intentions are good, his actions send a different message, one of neediness and a lack of boundaries. He appears to be prioritizing her above his sense of self. The second man, however, understands the value of his time and energy. He doesn't fear silence. He is comfortable with space and doesn't seek constant reassurance. He knows that his worth isn't dependent on whether she reciprocates his attention immediately. This quiet confidence and ability to hold his ground make him far more attractive. He doesn't need to chase because he understands that true attraction isn't forced. It's cultivated through presence, not pressure. Women are drawn to men with firm boundaries. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about genuinely having a life, purpose, and self-respect that exist independently of any woman's validation. When a man's actions communicate that he values himself, she is more likely to value him in return. A man who is centered on his worth doesn't seek constant approval. He is selective with his energy, making him more desirable. In contrast, chasing signals the opposite. It suggests that the man has placed the woman on a pedestal and believes she is the prize to be won while he must prove his worth. But true attraction isn't about convincing someone to like you. It's about naturally drawing them in through your energy, confidence, and purpose. The lesson is simple: the more you chase, the less valuable you appear. A man who respects himself, his time, and his mission in life is far more compelling than one who is desperate for attention. The key to attraction isn't in the pursuit itself, but in the ability to create space for the desire to grow. Let her come to you and feel the natural pull of attraction from your unwavering sense of self. Ultimately, it's not about how much effort you put into chasing, but how much strength you have to stand firm in who you are. 2. The power of emotional independence. Attraction is not just about looks, wealth, or charm. It is about self-respect. A man who has mastered emotional independence radiates a presence that naturally draws others toward him. More than any material possession or superficial trait, this quality defines his ability to create lasting attraction. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are emotionally stable, resilient, and unwavering in their self-worth. A man who lacks this foundation finds himself at the mercy of external circumstances, reacting emotionally to every shift in a woman's behavior. The essence of emotional independence is found in the ability to remain composed, regardless of how a woman behaves. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending to be indifferent, but rather having control over one's reactions. When a woman pulls away, many men instinctively chase, desperate to restore the emotional connection. But this very act diminishes their value in her eyes. It signals a dependence on her actions for his sense of well-being, which in turn makes him less attractive. A man who truly values himself understands that space is not a threat, but an opportunity to let things unfold naturally. Resisting the urge to seek immediate reassurance when things feel uncertain is a sign of inner strength. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, test men for their resilience. They observe how he responds to distance, how he handles unpredictability, and whether he remains centered on his own identity. A man who overreacts to minor emotional fluctuations fails this test, proving his confidence is easily shaken. On the other hand, a man who remains steady, who continues living his life with purpose and direction, demonstrates an inner strength that is deeply attractive. A key principle of Stoicism states, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it." This truth applies perfectly to relationships. The circumstances of a relationship will always be unpredictable. There will be moments of closeness and moments of distance, times of harmony and times of uncertainty. What separates a strong man from a weak one is his ability to navigate these moments without losing himself. He does not let external forces dictate his internal peace. His mindset is clear. He is the center of his world, and while he welcomes love, he does not cling to it out of fear of losing it. Emotional independence is not about being cold or detached. It is about knowing your worth so profoundly that no external validation is required. A woman is drawn to a man who remains grounded, does not crumble under pressure, and does not plead for attention or affection. Instead, he allows things to unfold naturally, giving space when needed and maintaining a quiet confidence that assures her he is not easily swayed. This separates an ordinary man from a high-value man. The ability to stay composed, maintain self-respect, and understand that true attraction is built on strength, not neediness. 3. Attraction grows in space, not in closeness. The dynamics of attraction are often misunderstood. Many men feel the need to constantly check in or reassure a woman, thinking that closeness and attention will build the connection. In reality, attraction thrives in space, not in proximity. When a woman feels overwhelmed by constant contact, it can diminish her intrigue. The key to building genuine attraction is giving her room to miss you. When she pulls back or seems distant, it is essential not to react with fear or anxiety. Instead of chasing after her or flooding her with messages, embrace the power of silence. Silence can be more potent than an avalanche of words. When you remain composed and give her the space to reflect, you create an environment where she starts to wonder about you, missing the connection you share. Healthy attraction isn't built by over-investing too soon. A man becoming too available or eager can signal a lack of confidence. Instead of entirely throwing yourself into the relationship, maintain a sense of mystery. The emotional tension that arises from space creates desire and curiosity, essential for deepening connection. A successful relationship is built on a healthy balance between closeness and distance. When you let her come to you, the attraction grows naturally, and she begins to appreciate you for the man you are, not just the attention you provide. 4. Busting modern dating myths. In the world of modern dating, there's no shortage of advice, but much of it is flawed, pushing men to adopt behaviors that don't work and can hurt their chances in the long run. It's time to debunk some common myths and uncover what attracts women. Take the myth that women love constant attention. On the surface, this might sound flattering, but the reality is far from it. When a man bombards a woman with text messages, compliments, and constant check-ins, it doesn't signal affection or care. Instead, it signals neediness and a lack of self-assurance. Women value emotional stability and independence. If you constantly chase after her approval, you risk lowering your value in her eyes. Another popular myth is that pursuing a woman relentlessly shows confidence. The opposite is true. Over-pursuit can lower the perceived value of the man doing the chasing. He seems desperate when a man constantly chases or overexerts himself to gain a woman's attention. Confidence doesn't lie in over-communicating or over-complimenting. It lies in knowing your worth without needing constant validation. A high-value man knows that his worth is not contingent on anyone else's approval, especially a woman's. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely put it, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Much of the anxiety men feel when dating comes from overthinking and imagining the worst-case scenarios. Instead of obsessing over whether you're texting too much or wondering if she likes you, focus on being the best version of yourself. True attraction doesn't come from chasing or over-complimenting. It comes from confidence, self-respect, and knowing that the right woman will appreciate you for who you indeed are. 5. Emotional detachment and confidence. A man who places his worth in external validation places himself at the mercy of others. This is a dangerous position, one that leaves him emotionally vulnerable and constantly seeking approval. The key to true confidence lies in emotional detachment, not indifference, but resilience. When a man is emotionally independent, he becomes unshakable in the face of external fluctuations, like slow replies or mixed signals from someone he's interested in. The key idea is to avoid over-investing emotionally too soon. When you are too eager for validation or quick to respond to every message, you signal desperation. Instead, take time to live a whole life outside of the relationship. Your value should not hinge on someone's attention or lack thereof. This is where emotional detachment becomes crucial. It's not about not caring. It's about maintaining a sense of self and emotional stability. Women instinctively appreciate men who are not emotionally over-invested. He exhibits strength when a man responds calmly, especially when there's a delay in communication. A slow reply or a little distance does not shake his confidence or cause him to question the relationship. Instead, it reinforces the idea that he has other facets of life to focus on, ultimately increasing his desirability. This practice of emotional detachment is the cornerstone of true confidence. It allows a man to navigate relationships without losing himself in them. He remains steady, unaffected by the whims of others, and is thus perceived as someone of value. The lesson is simple. Stop seeking external validation and watch how your confidence naturally draws people toward you. 6. The scarcity effect. Why less is more. The scarcity effect is a fundamental psychological principle that plays a crucial role in attraction. People instinctively place higher value on things that are rare or hard to obtain. This applies directly to relationships. When a man is constantly available and always putting himself in front of a woman, he risks diminishing his value in her eyes. The attention that is easily given is often taken for granted. But when attention is something earned, it holds much greater significance. Imagine this scenario. A man who is overly available, constantly at her disposal, and always reaching out, will eventually become predictable and even somewhat boring. His presence doesn't evoke the same excitement or appreciation because it is expected. But when he maintains a degree of independence and makes his attention something that is earned, it becomes much more valuable. The key here is not to disappear entirely or play mind games, but to create a dynamic where his time and effort are treasured. A man increases his perceived worth by balancing being present and giving space. This doesn't mean withdrawing entirely or becoming indifferent, but rather, it's about showing that you have a rich life outside of the relationship. When a woman knows that you have your ambitions, hobbies, and social life, she is more likely to appreciate the moments when you do give her your attention. Furthermore, the more effort she makes to get your attention, the more she'll value it. This creates an environment where the relationship feels mutually fulfilling, as both partners contribute in ways that foster respect and appreciation. The dynamic shifts from something predictable and routine to something where both individuals are motivated to invest in each other. On the other hand, if a man is always overly available and constantly vying for her attention, he risks being seen as too predictable and ultimately too easy to obtain. Women, like anyone else, value their time and don't want to feel like they're settling for someone who is always there without question. Maintaining a sense of mystery is crucial to a life full of your passions and pursuits. This doesn't mean neglecting her, but creating a dynamic where you're not always at her beck and call. When you do engage, it will be far more meaningful and appreciated. Ultimately, the scarcity effect works to your advantage when you balance being present with maintaining independence. You don't need to chase her or constantly seek validation. Simply being someone who is focused on personal growth, goals, and interests makes your time together something to be valued. By respecting yourself and your needs, you set a tone where she values and cherishes the time and attention you give her. 7. Handling female tests with Stoic mindset. One of the subtle dynamics in relationships is the way women test men. These tests are not always deliberate, but rather part of their subconscious attempt to gauge a man's emotional strength and resilience. Whether through delayed replies, ambiguous interest, or playful teasing, these tests can be a way for women to assess how secure a man is in himself and the relationship. The key to passing these tests lies in how a man responds. His ability to stay calm, composed, and unaffected by uncertainty. Like anyone else, women need to feel that the person they are with is emotionally stable. When a man reacts with anxiety or desperation, It can signal insecurity. This is not a trait that tends to inspire attraction or respect. However, when unaffected by a woman's testing behavior, he conveys emotional maturity and strength. A Stoic mindset, rooted in the understanding that emotional reactions should not dictate one's actions, is essential for navigating these tests successfully. For instance, when a woman takes longer to reply to a text message, it can feel like a small test. Some men might begin to overthink or bombard her with multiple follow-up messages. This approach, however, is often a sign of emotional insecurity. The key to handling such situations is to remain patient, not rush to conclusions, and give her space without seeking immediate validation. By not reacting emotionally to this perceived distance, a man signals his confidence in the relationship and worth. Similarly, if a woman displays ambiguous interest or playful teasing, a man's response should reflect calm assurance. These actions may not always have hostile intent, but they can cause an emotional stir if not appropriately handled. Instead of taking the bait and becoming defensive or overly serious, staying relaxed and keeping the conversation light-hearted is essential. Demonstrating that you can laugh at yourself and not take things too personally helps build the foundation for a strong, secure relationship. In relationships, a man's value is often revealed in how he handles moments of uncertainty. How he reacts to these subtle tests directly reflects his emotional strength. If he lets his emotions get the best of him, showing signs of anxiety, frustration, or desperation, it can undermine his appeal. However, when he stands firm, remains calm, and lets time take its course, he shows that he can be trusted with the complexities of a relationship. Ultimately, women are not testing a man to push him away, but to see if he can handle the unpredictable emotions that naturally arise in relationships. A Stoic approach to these tests and self-assurance make a man more attractive and trustworthy. By focusing on your emotional resilience and not reacting out of fear or neediness, you pass the test and cultivate more profound, meaningful connections. 8. The confidence of saying no. A high-value man knows his worth, respects his boundaries, and isn't afraid to say no when necessary. This is not just about rejecting a request. It's about demonstrating self-respect and maintaining a strong sense of individuality. Responding confidently and firmly when a woman asks for something unreasonable is crucial. A man who is willing to set boundaries earns respect both from others and from himself. It can be easy to feel the pressure always to say yes, especially when trying to keep the peace or avoid conflict. However, this eagerness to please often comes across as desperation and can push others away. Desperation is unattractive. Women, like anyone else, are drawn to strength and confidence. When a man is comfortable enough in his own identity to say no, it signals that he values his time, energy, and well-being. It also sets the tone for a relationship based on mutual respect rather than one-sided sacrifice. Taking a step back and recognizing that your needs matter as much as hers is essential. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This principle applies in relationships as well. A man who knows what he wants, who is content with himself and his life, does not feel compelled to say yes to everything to seek validation. Setting boundaries and confidently saying no when appropriate creates a sense of stability and independence that naturally attracts respect. Women value men who are grounded, self-sufficient, and unafraid to put themselves first when necessary. This doesn't mean being rude or dismissive, but communicating your needs confidently and clearly. It's also important to remember that saying no doesn't always lead to rejection or disappointment. It often leads to more tremendous respect and appreciation. When a man demonstrates the confidence to say no to unreasonable requests, it reassures the woman that he values himself, his time, and the relationship. Ultimately, this strengthens the bond and sets the stage for a healthier, more balanced dynamic. 9. The illusion of endless options in modern dating. In today's digital age, the dynamics of dating have drastically shifted, mainly due to the rise of social media and dating apps. These platforms give people the illusion of endless options, creating a sense of abundance that has altered how we approach relationships. Understanding how to stand out in this crowded space is essential for men. One of the most important things to remember is the temptation to put a woman on a pedestal. While it's natural to admire someone you're interested in, treating her as unattainable or out of your league often sends the wrong message. It signals that you don't value yourself or your worth. Women are naturally drawn to men who approach them with confidence, not those who act as if they're seeking approval or validation. When you elevate her status in your mind, you risk coming across as needy or desperate. Competing for attention with other men is also a trap to avoid. Getting caught up in a race for attention is easy in online dating, but this approach only weakens your appeal. Imagine two men reaching out to a woman on a dating app. One sends a long, drawn-out message that feels desperate, trying to convince her to pay attention. The other, with self-assuredness, sends a concise and confident message. The second man automatically appears more attractive by not over-investing in the initial approach. It's not about doing less to be aloof, but finding a balance. Women, just like men, are drawn to confidence and self-respect. When you don't try too hard to impress or win over, you give the impression that you have options and that your time is valuable. This indirectly communicates that you're unwilling to over-invest in a relationship that hasn't been earned. In the modern world of dating, less truly is more. When you stop seeking validation and instead focus on being genuine and confident, you position yourself as someone desirable. Not because you're trying to be, but because you already are. The key is maintaining self-respect while allowing the natural course of attraction to unfold without rushing it. This approach sets you apart from the crowd and increases the chances of forming a meaningful connection. 10. Mastering the art of genuine indifference. Genuine indifference in relationships doesn't stem from manipulation or games. It comes from a place of deep self-respect and understanding. When a man embraces his worth and focuses on his personal growth, he naturally becomes less reliant on external validation, including from women. This shift in mindset can change the entire dynamic of a relationship. Instead of desperately seeking approval, he begins to trust the natural flow of attraction and lets things unfold authentically. When a man is genuinely indifferent to the outcome, not because he is playing hard to get, but because he has a deep sense of self, it shows in his demeanor and behavior. This indifference is rooted in emotional strength and confidence. Every text message, every missed call, or every moment of doubt does not sway him. He understands that someone else's attention does not define his worth. This means focusing on personal growth and purpose, not constantly seeking to please or validate someone else. By building a rich life with passion and ambition, he demonstrates that he doesn't need validation to feel fulfilled. The key here is not to come off as aloof or disinterested in her, but rather to remain emotionally steady, even amid uncertainty. When a woman sees that external circumstances do not rattle a man, that he is constant and unwavering, it naturally draws her in. Think about it this way: a secure man doesn't need to force anything. He trusts that attraction, both emotional and physical, will evolve naturally. He doesn't chase or act out of desperation. Instead, he focuses on his passions, career, and goals. When the need for validation does not consume him, he becomes more interesting, mysterious, and ultimately attractive. Women are naturally drawn to men who can maintain emotional steadiness. They find mystery compelling and respect a man who values himself enough not to bend backward to gain attention. When a man steps back, not from a place of detachment, but from one of emotional maturity and self-fulfillment, he allows space for attraction to build healthily and organically. The art of genuine indifference is not about being dismissive or playing mind games. It's about being so comfortable with who you are that you don't need constant reassurance. You trust yourself, your path, and the natural course of relationships. By focusing on being your best self and not depending on others for validation, you create an environment where the proper connection can blossom authentically. 11. Final Stoic lesson. Detach and let her come to you. In relationships, it is often said that the most attractive quality a man can possess is the ability to detach. Attraction grows when a woman needs to earn your attention and respect. This doesn't mean playing games or being aloof. It means understanding your value and not needing constant external validation. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you give her the space to appreciate you for who you are without forcing the connection. The wisdom of Stoic philosophy teaches that we only have control over our reactions, not the events or people around us. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is a crucial principle to apply in relationships. Instead of trying to control her feelings or rush the process, focus on mastering yourself. When you approach relationships with this mindset, you no longer feel pressured to chase or seek approval constantly. Your value doesn't depend on her reaction. It rests within you. One of the most powerful things a man can do in a relationship is to care, not overinvest. This balance allows for a deeper connection to form naturally. When you overinvest emotionally, you risk coming across as desperate or needy, creating an imbalance in the dynamic. A woman will feel like she has to carry less emotional weight, often leading to disinterest. On the other hand, when you remain calm and self-assured, giving her space to come to you, you create an environment of mutual respect and intrigue. Women naturally admire men who value themselves. It's not about being arrogant or indifferent, but about being grounded in your worth. A man who is unbothered by external circumstances, who remains composed and emotionally stable, is beautiful. This steadiness signals that you have a solid sense of self and are not looking to anyone else for validation. You understand that your happiness and fulfillment come from within, and this self-reliance makes you even more intriguing to women. In relationships, remember that the more she has to work for your attention, the more she will appreciate it. It's not about being distant or playing hard to get, but about demonstrating that your time and attention are valuable. Doing so creates an atmosphere where she can earn your respect, and the connection that forms will be far more meaningful and lasting. Ultimately, the key to success in relationships is not constantly proving your worth, but remaining detached, focused on self-improvement, and letting the right person come to you. Your strength lies not in pursuing someone who isn't reciprocating, but in understanding your value and letting them recognize it. Embodying these Stoic principles will attract the right person to respect and appreciate your inner strength. The attraction isn't built through constant pursuit or endless validation. It thrives in space, self-respect, and emotional steadiness. A man who understands his worth doesn't seek approval or chase attention because he knows that absolute confidence is about being fulfilled independently. The paradox is simple. When you stop trying too hard, you naturally become more desirable. Women are drawn to men who are grounded, self-assured, and emotionally independent, not those who overinvest and react anxiously to every shift in their behavior. Modern dating often pushes men toward unhealthy patterns of over-pursuit and emotional dependence. But the truth is, less is more. The more you prioritize your purpose, passions, and growth, the more magnetic you become. A man who can confidently say no, remains calm under pressure, and doesn't seek constant reassurance will always stand out. Women instinctively test men to gauge their emotional resilience, and the ones who pass remain composed, unaffected, and secure. Attraction grows when a woman feels she has to earn a man's attention, not when it's freely given without effort. The key is to detach from the need for constant validation, trust in the natural flow of connection, and let things unfold without force. You have power over your mind and actions. Mastering that is the ultimate strength. What do you think? Have you experienced these dynamics in your relationships? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoic philosophy, relationships, and personal growth.